but I have a Mannheim address. I live just on the other side of the county line. My wife and I, about 4 years ago, decided to join St. Mark's because we were married there 40 years ago. And Stephanie and I and Tom, we got to be friends. And there was an event that happened over there at Monument Park. I don't know if I ever had walked through that park since I was a kid, but I walked around there about 2 years ago, and Cornell Wilson had an Easter egg hunt over there. And I kind of walked around and looked around a little bit, and I kind of called it to the attention of the church because they're right there. And I said, it really, I think it needs some work. And we kind of got our little committee together with the church because we felt that we could use the park for some of the functions or whatever that the church kind of gets in the neighborhood there.
Like Easter egg hunts and things with Cornell Wilson.
But then I did talk to Cornell, and we decided to take some pictures. So I took some pictures. As you can see, this was, I made this up, sent it to the people that are on our church committee, which are about 4 people. And then I sent it to Steph, and she sent it to whomever she thought would be interested in this, which were you. And I took pictures, and I wrote up the basic information in the front, and explains everything.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being part of this, and Mrs. Billings, the other county commissioner.
Yeah, I introduced myself.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
But he doesn't know me.
I don't know you.
I told him he knows me now.
Okay. All right.
And Jamie Wolgamuth.
Hi,
And his
Jamie.
mother and I went to County Youth Fellowship together.
Oh, okay. Jamie's still learning.
Yeah, he's a kid, I know.
And what is Jamie's?
He's our county administrator.
Oh,
He's the 4th county commissioner.
he's the guy that writes everything down, right?
He doesn't have to get elected. He just has to keep us happy.
Just shows up.
Right.
That's the biggest
Two of
job.
us.
Did you all get this?
Yes, they all got
Oh,
it.
they did. Okay.
So we'd like to see some renovation done. Mainly, the monument is from a Civil War monument, and it's 100 years old this year.
150.
150?
I thought the monument was,
It's
something was
150.
100. Something was 100, I thought. Maybe I
Whatever.
must be thinking of something.
Well, the park, they started the park and the whole history's in there, but it really needs some work now. And Bob Hoffman grew up across the street on 8th Street, and I grew up across the street. So we're all involved, and we all want to see something done about it. And we're here to help figure out what needs to be done, get estimates, and like Joellen was saying, you have to put major things out on bids, and get a structure and try to get some things done to start maybe in the spring, get prices now and things, and see what you all agree to do. We can do some legwork, but I also have some foundations that we can write to. DAR, I don't know, does SAR have some grant money?
I'd have to check on
Yeah,
that.
but DAR has grant money. I'm in the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they will give grant money, and I have the application for it, but it's mostly for things from the Revolutionary War up to the federal period. But, with something as important as this, they might give us, a little bit of money, $1,000 or $2,000 or a couple $1,000s. But we first have to see what you are behind us in doing, going out and getting some prices to see what it would cost to renovate all of the things that need to be done there. A lot of it's landscaping and trees and things, but there's infrastructure, like monument is cracking, and it looks like somebody took some white cement or something and patched it up, and it's really dirty and needs to be professionally cleaned. So I'm working with the Daughters of the American Revolution State Regents Project in Valley Forge Memorial Chapel in Valley Forge Park. And it's a Robert Morris window. It's, I don't know if you've ever been in that chapel. It's beautiful. They have huge stained glass windows all the way around for the founders of our country. And the Pennsylvania State DAR is doing the Robert Morris window. So I'm helping them raise $80,000. We raised $32,000 this past weekend at our fall meeting, which is really good. But anyway, I talked to Pat Martin down there, and I said, who does your restoration work? They have a lot of marble restoration and all of that. So I gave you a copy of that. She's the one that says Pat Martin, this HC Wood Monument Company. I got another one off the internet, that Masco Cemetery Monument. And Michael Doherty, I don't know how big he is, but he did the witness tree monument down there in Donegal. So I just got his name.
In fact, excuse me, the Sons are going to have a, some type of a function that's going to acknowledge that work, because that's one of the really old historical sites in Lancaster
Yeah,
County.
that Witness Street, at
Yeah.
Donegal Church.
Yeah, they're gonna just do that in the next
Right.
few months.
So,
So your timeline is before the end of the year, maybe, to have numbers?
well, yeah,
Is
you
that
know,
your
and
thought?
get your agreement to say that you're in on this, and maybe we can get some of the county budget to help with that, since it is a county park.
Actually, probably our tourism dollars might be a good fund.
Great.
As
That's
opposed to the
great.
county budget, that would impact our real
That's a
estate
great
tax.
idea.
And I should also share some of the history. The Women's Club of Lebanon was founded by Deborah Norris Coleman Brock, and she led the effort to build that monument, her and her sisters, and it was done by the Coleman women in honor of Camp Coleman, which was the 93rd Regiment was there.
Yes.
And so the county was given the park when it was completed in agreement that it would be maintained in perpetuity. So I did a drone video of it a couple years ago, so that
saw
is
it.
online.
It's great.
And I saw it too, yes.
And it gave a little bit of the history, and it is very important. And we did do some repairs to the monument in the last year or two. We did a memorial service out there, and Mr. Miser is often in charge of the service, and he had pointed out some work that we did get done. But you're right, there's more that can be done, and it can be a really beautiful park in the city, but it is the only county park in the city. So I
Just
think
to-
partnership, public-private partnership with the government is great.
Just to add on to that, I did see your YouTube video, which is great. And, you know, I knew nothing about that park other than it being there. And I started reading, and Jim Shucker is with our committee. He's a historian, you might know him. I started reading about the park, and, you know, I thought it was a city park.
No,
I learned that, and then I started reading the history of the 93rd Regiment. It has a unbelievable amount of history. But the thing that I see is, you know, a lot of these old parks are starting to kind of fade away, or just people aren't paying attention to them. And I think the city especially, and learning that it is the county now, it's one of our treasures that's kind of being a little bit ignored.
May I ask, is this part of a bigger picture, having it designated?
It is designated. I called my friend up at this, well, she's not my friend, but she's my contact at the state, Jenna Solomon, and she said, no, wait a minute, let me look it up. The whole north side, from Willow Street to Guilford Street, 2nd Street to 14th Street, is all on the Pennsylvania inventory. I just about fell
Unbelievable.
over. Now, it hasn't been nominated to the National Register, but there's a 90-page document that I have in my email, and one of my friends is going to run off the 90 pages, and I'll bring a couple copies in here. He has this print shop in his basement. What?
Did you tell me, she sent me this 90-page thing, and I thought, I'm not
You
printing it.
can't open it, though.
I know. Well, Lynn got it, but I looked at it. But I think you told me that they did this research when they put the bridges up. I think
Well, it
they
was
had
by Norfolk Southern in 1990, so I think it was in, you know, laying the groundwork for when they decided to start going forward with those bridges a long
Right.
time ago. But it talked about, it was a working class neighborhood with the architectural structure, the factories, the Bethlehem Steel, the steel factory. I mean, it's really wonderful. So hopefully we can take that and go to the National Register. Also, so the park's on that, St. Mark's Church is on it. So I'd like to get the canal houses up there that are still up there on Maple Street added to that, with Lights Fort, which is not on the National Register and never will be because it was too renovated, Webster Schoolhouse, Christ Presbyterian Church, and then the Coleman Mansions. Somebody in Lebanon has a whole pile of records that she flew to France and met with some of the Colemans who live over there, and they gave her all of these records and pictures and everything. So we have that. So
Missy Lesher and her
Miss-
daughter, Missy Lesher. And
Well,
her
she's
daughter.
on Facebook, and she is really into
She
history.
has quite a bit of the
Oh,
Coleman.
gosh,
in-
I-
okay, that's who it is.
I took her walking tour
yes,
up
in
Coleman's
Coleman Park.
Park.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
there too.
I learn a lot on Facebook,
Yeah.
good and bad.
So anyway, so we'll try to get that added to that. But I had something else. Oh, back to the park. The DAR, my Lebanon chapter DAR, really, some of the ladies want to start a pollinator garden. So perhaps once we get things all set up and whatever we're going to do and renovate inside the fence, if we could set up a pollinator garden where the people could see the flowers and, you know, smell the flowers and the butterflies will come and everything. They will set it up and maintain it. So if you're interested in that, that's an aside. And the tourism dollars is really great. So let's see, what else?
May I add something?
Yes.
Judge Tilwalk, if you don't mind,
No, go ahead, yes.
And Sally Berry have signed off on John Schott helping with grant preparation, because that's his forte, and they have said, because of the importance of that project.
Great, wonderful.
So you just have to, you know, match up with him.
Yes, that was the other thing on my
So
list.
if you see John's name on it, then you know that that has been blessed by above.
That's great. Well, what we have to do is, you know, say, what's going to be the scope? What does everybody want to see done? And Dave has a list, but I don't know if you want to
I
go in.
outlined pretty much, some things won't take that much. If we can get, I know the guys are over there now mowing.
Our prison.
Yeah, the day that I took the picture, I took pictures in, I think, March, when it was
Yeah.
still cold, and then I took them back in June. And then that's when we really concentrated on the monument. Up until then, I concentrated more on the park
Grounds.
and what it looked like. One thing, and this can be projected as negative, you know, Lebanon is not like it was when we grew up. We all know that. There's some beautiful places around that park, and I'm sure that was really
The place
center.
to be, yeah.
Yeah, probably in the 1890s maybe.
Well, our house was built in 1900 on Mifflin Street. There were row houses across the
But I didn't
suburbs.
pay any attention to that
Right.
because, you know, I don't live here, and I didn't go there until
Right.
we went to the church. And then every Sunday when we went or something, I kind of just took a little bit more interest in walking around there and looking, and I'm thinking, you know, this could really be a neat place.
Okay, so here's on page 2. There are all these objectives: maintenance, painting, nature plantings, benches, blah blah blah. So, what is there anything here you don't think we should look at? The lighting. He took pictures of some of the lights that are falling apart.
Well, let me add to the lighting. I've heard stories that there's activity going on over there that's probably not the best. And I think if we would do some really decorative, even kind of tourism type of lighting that would be more in the theme of that period of time and light it up really good, you'd not only enhance the historical nature of the park, but it also would be a safety feature.
On the lighting, I did have 2 notes, and one Jamie was very conscious of when we brought the old courthouse lights back out front, and that was to use Lexan, which is virtually indestructible. So because we don't want vandalism, I would suggest Lexan globes on if you get the antique kind of lights so that they aren't destroyed. And the other thing is make sure it's the most energy efficient, like LEDs, nice bright LEDs, so that it's not real expensive to keep
Right,
those
right.
lights on.
I'm
if
looking at 2
necessary.
aspects. One is to enhance the lighting in the actual monument inside the gate fence and really enhance that. And then those lights could be more of a decorative
Right.
setting around there. And I looked at some lights, I think I showed you one of them, that are maybe 1890s, Civil War Victorian kind of lights. Not really way out Williamsburg expensive, but something that would be really nice, but kind of stay middle ground in the price range. Does that make sense?
In your experience, well, yeah, that's all good. In your experience, when you do these projects, do you add cameras?
Well, see, that's what I was putting in there. That's why I sent it to the chief of police and Sherry Capello, because evidently there is some drug activity there, and this way, even if you have cameras up, I think that's a deterrent right there. If there's some cameras up and people think they're being recorded, that would be a deterrent.
I agree.
So I don't know, you know.
And I think we could do it that it would not be noticed or offensive. Maybe they wouldn't even see them. They might be incorporated in the
Yeah,
decorative.
but you have to put a notice there too, say.
Right, but
it's
it could be kind
monitored
of
by
in the
security.
decorative part of the lighting. It's not so ugly, for lack of another
Well,
word.
is there anything, we think, number one, the restoration of the monument should be done professionally by someone that really knows what they're doing to keep it sturdy and fix it up for the next 100 years. And is there anything in here that you see that we shouldn't have? Like informational signs, I mean, there's one sign, I think, on one side. So there should kind of be signs on a lot of them. And I think they need to have the dog walking, things like they have out at Gloninger Park out on 22nd Street. It's a little basket that you could put they give you the bags and it says curb your dog and everything. I think we need a couple of those over there, because one of my friends in my class that grew up with me over there said they went to play in the park with the kids one day and they had to clean up all the dog dirt and the drug paraphernalia first.
I'd be more concerned with the drug. Commissioner Phillips, are you familiar with, is there, are they getting inside that gate? Are they crawling over and is that pretty clean?
I don't know. I never have seen anybody violate that, but
Right.
most of the things I see are just, throughout the.
Yeah,
grass.
I didn't see anything. When I took the pictures, I couldn't really get really good pictures because I couldn't get inside the gate. But it looks like that's not, it doesn't look like that's being entered into.
For the most part, I haven't. I think when people enter that park, there has to be an air of respect for the Civil War heroes who camped there. That is what it was meant for. And so we do have application process through the county to use the park, so that we make sure that everything is done with dignity. And so that's just something to keep in mind if you move forward with this project, which I think is very worthwhile.
One of the other things is, if you look, and I don't have these pages marked, but this picture here, we couldn't identify some of the things that are in the park. I was told that this is a base for one of the flower
Planters.
planters.
When I grew up there 69 years ago, we used to stand on that, but there was nothing
Well, see, I didn't
there
know
then,
that.
but
I
there's
just see that and I'm
probably
thinking,
front,
what
yeah.
is that there
Yes,
for?
right. That's what it was. You could stand on it and see if anybody could knock you off. And also we used to walk all the way around the top edge of the stone wall, all the way. If you could make it all the way around, you were like the neighborhood hero without falling off. See what you're missing, Janie.
I guess.
You're showing your age.
Okay, so actually, my great-grandfather, Alan Shuey, that went to St. John's Church, was in the Civil War and lost his fingers and toes in the Civil War, and his brother, Anson Shuey, was killed in the Battle of Winchester. So, Civil War is really good, and I grew up there too. But anyway, is there anything that you think we should not go ahead and try to get prices on, or what do we do? How do we go about looking at companies locally who can do some of these things and get some bids from them? Is there a procedure for
Dennis is
that?
our,
Pardon me?
Are you gonna have a committee to do this?
Well,
Well,
that's
we
what we're
have-
trying to establish.
Well, we have- yeah.
We have our kind of talking committee at this point, getting ideas, but we need to get permission on your side.
Dennis Firestone is our purchasing agent, and we qualify for co-stars and all kinds of
Commissioner
government.
Litz, it would be much better if they did it as a private entity.
Yeah, but we need to-
So we're not looking at prevailing wage and
It
things.
Yes,
depends
I
how
agree.
much everything is.
I
It
agree.
doesn't take much to get.
Well, I agree with that, but
$20,000.
if we could, we're working on this, when we put this together, but if we could at least get your grace, or what's the word?
Blessing.
Permission, yeah.
Blessing, yeah.
Blessing, whatever, that we can start the project, and then maybe, I've been told that you can get some type of volunteers go in there and maybe seed it and start you know, looking at those trees and pruning them and things like that,
Well, that
would
should be professional people, I think.
Yeah,
would
but that
do
would be fairly easy
Yeah,
to
but I
do.
don't, we don't even do that.
But
I
let's-
hired my guy.
I mean, let's do it as a plan, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
you guys come back to us, or
Right.
maybe the Historical Society, Shucker, and maybe some people would be part of your committee.
Well, they are, yeah.
Okay.
Bob Hoffman's very interested, and
There you go.
Chucker.
Yeah,
And
and-
Michelle Beck, who's our Historic Preservation Chairman for Lebanon County for DAR, she will be on our committee too.
We want it to be a church committee, it's our church project, but it needs to go farther than that.
Right. A community, and church and
Well,
community.
Yes, church and
Is there
community.
any opposition to letting them know that
No,
we
I
give
think,
our,
I think with this, everybody on this board would be willing to cooperate and work with you as long as.
If we could work on this during the winter months and try to see what kind of monies we can get and the step-by-step
Right.
that we could get this thing started.
Do you have a
when it starts work.
nonprofit that you can work through to apply for grants? Because that's what you're talking about doing.
Right. Well, as for grants, you could just write to them for grants
You
for
have to have a
projects.
nonprofit status.
Well, then, don't tell me we
Well,
have to
better
do
be
that, we
sure
should
that
do it with the church.
The church could be,
Yeah.
if you wanna do it.
Yeah, we
See,
didn't go, we
DAR,
didn't, we
that's-
didn't go that far.
Well, the DAR has a nonprofit, but this isn't directly,
well, the Historical Society
Yeah.
would have it. I
You
mean,
need to coordinate through a nonprofit agency in order to write any grants.
Okay,
So I'm just giving you, it sounds like you need help to get focused.
yes.
So if you get a nonprofit to apply for the grants, and depending how much it is, and I don't know the nonprofit's budget, if they would get kicked into a higher amount, it would mean a more extensive audit, that sort of thing. Someone like the Historical Society is probably in the higher echelon already.
Right.
If their bookkeeper will work with you, that would be great, but if you have a small nonprofit, it might not be something they would take
yeah,
on.
Historic Preservation Trust is
Yeah,
a very small.
I don't think that the church is giving us their backing as far as they're agreeing to do it, but I don't know if we'd want to put it under their blanket. I don't know.
Well,
if-
Historic Preservation Trust.
And the county often
Yeah.
facilitates grants,
Michael,
however.
Is Mike Trump?
Yeah, Mike Trump and Jan Morrissey.
Yeah.
So we would need to
I'll ask
coordinate
them.
another meeting to get those people,
Well, we'll just talk to them.
okay.
Yeah, between grants and some tourism money, maybe
Right.
you'll see what the scope of this thing is
Right.
and we'll go from
How
there.
much-
Have you thought a lot about the tree roots? Because the last time I was in that park, that was, I mean, you couldn't really walk around because
Yeah,
of
it's
the
pretty-
tree roots poking
it's
through the
pretty-
ground.
I think we need a professional landscaper to go
I
in there and
think
say,
so,
you have to
too.
cut down trees and this and that. And right in front of the reviewing stand inside the park where the big flag is and everything, there's a big dip in the ground. I almost broke my ankle one year on Memorial Day. I walked along and I went, so it needs to be evened out, and there's not a lot of grass there. It's a lot of pig ears. I mean, it just really needs one big professional thing and then maintained by the by the county or the prisoners or whatever. So, okay, I'll talk to.
Now, I
Historic
also
preservation.
understand the Memorial Day parade always has their
It ends up there,
ceremony,
yeah.
and-
Right.
and I've been over there, but who runs that?
Again, Mr. Miser is in
Okay.
charge.
It's not, I thought that the Elks used to do that, or one of those organizations.
Well,
That might have
They
been years
have a
ago. Might have
veterans-
been years ago, right?
committee. I don't know the formal name of it, but it's a veterans committee,
Okay.
and Mr. Miser is the president or something.
Getting back to the teaching people the history, to respect it, that's why I think we should have signs in there, and I have that in this package, that we should have professional signs put up there. You know, you see them in different places, you know, people can read simple
Interpretive
history.
signage.
Yeah, simple history.
I'd say the Historical Society may be a good partner in this because maybe they could help you launch some publicity about it, you know, the fact that you are trying to save it and restore it and raise money for it. You know, that they may be able to partner with you on some exposure for that. And
Well,
maybe,
they're- Yeah, there's a new crew in there, so hopefully they'll be more cooperative with me. Oh, Gladys is getting her award. They got it, so they're gonna present it to her at a DAR meeting.
So
But anyway.
how do we blanket this whole project?
Well, if we're gonna write grants, John Schott's gonna write grants, but it's not gonna be for through the county. It's gonna be for this project through perhaps historic
whatever.
preservation or
Right.
whatever. Historic preservation is a very small group, so maybe that, I'll talk to them first and then we'll talk to the Historical Society.
So Lebanon does have a historical preservation?
Yeah, I was president of it for 4 years and vice
You didn't
president.
tell me that.
That was a long time
We're
ago.
gonna put her statue on that
Yeah,
podium.
yeah, you know that I want to.
We're gonna have her walking that wall.
Not even work.
Fix that.
Okay, so.
So do you think this is something that could really, we could see something happen here?
I personally feel that it's a good project and it would improve the park. It remains to be seen if it will go through the nonprofit, as you're saying, or if the county does have to get involved. Either way is fine with me, but see how far you can get. And again, Dennis can be consulted for guidance. Firestone, he is our purchasing agent if you run into anything that you
Now,
have
you say
questions.
about the county getting involved. I was under the impression that's why we're here, to
Yes.
see if you guys would,
You asked for a blessing to move forward, but I'm saying if the county has to become the facilitator of the grants, then it would be going through all the government rules versus a nonprofit rule.
and that could be more of a time factor and.
Well, it's prevailing wage, Davis speaking,
Yeah,
act, you
yeah,
have
we
to
don't
pay
wanna do that.
minimum.
Yeah, we don't want to do
I think
that.
prevailing wage is gonna have to be no matter what. Because it's not a matter of where the source of the funds is, it's where it's spent. So it being on county property, it would have to be prevailing wage. We
Thank
ran
you,
into
Jamie.
that- We ran into that once or twice before.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well-
If there's a separate organization that's doing the work.
Well, when we built the methadone clinic on the property that was owned by the county, even though CRC was providing the funding, it still had to be done by prevailing wage. They were the original provider that put the methadone clinic up on county property. So maybe we can double check it, but that's my.
Well, then you may want to do it in segments or, phase the work because a prevailing wage is a real killer, and especially if you're trying to raise funds.
You're right.
So what I would like to see I would like to see an independent group that's concentrating just on this. And if we need to ask for county financing, or, you guys writing the checks or collecting the money, I don't know how that works, but, I'm willing to work with you.
I think the cost has to get scoped first.
Right, yeah. Different prices on, bidding on, first of all, the
You're talking
monument's gonna be the big thing.
Carol Hickey is an architect that might be a source to tap into.
Who, Hickey?
Carol Hickey, she does a lot of historic
So
stuff,
we-
like the Union Canal Tunnel and things like that.
So we're going to take this as individual little projects other than one big blanket?
Well, the
Let her
threshold
do
for
an
prevailing
overall.
wage is $25,000, so
Yeah.
the monument itself is probably gonna cost more than that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more than that.
We're figuring at least 100.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Down the road, could we look at some kind of a fund me page or some kind of a fundraiser or something like that? How
I
would
think
we
you
do
need
that?
to get your pricing first, so we have goals and if we have a timeline and things of that nature. Don't get the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Let's find out what we're getting into
Okay.
and then go to that stage.
Well, I'm gonna contact these 3 people, mostly the H.C. Wood Monument Company that does everything at Valley Forge Park. But if they do it for the government, it's probably get prevailing wage too, right?
Well, they would know, yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie, would it be better maybe to go to Gettysburg since it's Civil War?
Yeah, but do you wanna contact somebody in Gettysburg?
I don't know anybody.
Oh, I don't
We
know.
like to use local
Let me tell you
contractors, by the
something.
way.
I don't know a guy, but I know a contact that I might be able to check with.
Okay, well, why don't you do that?
Did you hear about the guy from Mannheim that wants to get the Gettysburg reenactment continuing? Did you guys read
I
on
saw
that?
that, I read that.
Yeah. I don't know him, but he does live over there. It wouldn't take much for me to figure talking to
Okay.
him.
Well, let's start
We'll work on it.
contacting people and,
Yeah, you have our, green light to form your committee
Alright.
and get things going. It's the county park, so certainly you needed to start here. And Joellen's idea was a very good one for where we can find some support.
okay,
So I think you're accomplished a lot. You just have to get your plan and the cost of it and come back and visit with us again.
all right, okay.
Do you think that the first step and maybe the easiest and inexpensive would just be the landscaping?
No.
That's- You don't think it
That'd
would?
probably come last because you're going to have equipment in there.
Oh,
And it would
yeah.
destroy anything you do now.
Yeah, that
The
is
main
true.
thing is the monument. We have to save that monument and clean it.
You wanna do the
and-
monument before the lights?
and
You
all-
need to
all
have the
above.
study that's professional to give you priorities.
And maybe your committee and could give you
Right,
the,
okay.
what's sequence there should be.
Okay.
We don't want to really decide that here with you.
Okay.
That's for committee to sort that out.
Does anybody want a copy of the 90 pages for the plan for, that's all on the historic? Yeah, I'll get that done and I'll send some.
It's a lot of reading.
It's a
Well, you don't have
good
to-
It's a
history.
good reference.
Oh, it is. It's, just so the county has it and the city should have it too. And I don't think anybody knew that. So, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.